14th meeting, 2013. First up is adoption of the minutes of our April 23rd, 2013 meeting. Moved by Councillor Morocco, seconded by Councillor Maids. Councillor Pietrangelo, you have comment? No? Comment? Yes, Councillor Gates.
Yeah, I got a comment on the unfinished business, the WECO, and just kind of how we did it last meeting. I had raised some questions around the general contractor and subcontractors associated to this project abide by all provincial laws governing construction projects, including but not limited to the Occupational Health and Safety Regulations, the entire Environmental Protection Act, and the Trades Qualification and Apprenticeship Act. And some of the reasons why I had raised this issue, although we didn't really get into it in open council because of how we did the in-camera, some of my concerns were around the health and safety of our community and the work associated with these type of projects. And I'm referencing the article printed in the Niagara Falls Review. It was dated July 3rd, 2009 and July 29th, 2009, where local residents had been exposed to overspray from painting that was done during the construction of the Gale Center. And some of my concerns is you know, we've moved the location of the bus terminal facility from where Stanley Avenue, I believe it was originally, is that it raises some environmental concerns to our air quality and potential water table contaminants because it's now going to be at right beside the Heartland Forest facility, which is right across the road. So I had some concerns. So my question is, and what I'd like to get at some form in writing, a guarantee, is that I can get something in writing that they will abide by all the rules and regulations. And I think that when we're spending this kind of money, especially taxpayers' money, and you can say some that came from different levels, there's only one taxpayer, I think if we're going to pay this kind of money, that we should be using and paying for registered tradespeople who should be assured that the registered trades are actually building our new bus facility. And I wanted to raise that because, quite frankly, I believe I might have, it's not nice to openly admit you made a mistake, but I probably should have raised some of this in open council, but because of the way we did the in-camera, I think I made a mistake. So I wanted to make sure I raised it tonight. I would like to thank Mr. Beeman. He has sent me some stuff on the Occupational Health and Safety Act, but that's only a small piece of the laws that I'd like to make sure that who's going to build this facility is abiding by. So I do thank Mr. Beeman for giving me that stuff. I have had some dialogue with him, and I've been in contact with Carl as well on this issue, but I wanted to stay in open council. I probably should have done it last meeting, so that's why I raised it, and I appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you. We're good. Any other comments on the minutes? Okay, then we'll call the motion. All those in favor? Okay, it's unanimous. Thank you. Any disclosures of pecuniary interest? Okay, seeing none, we'll move along to our report section. First up is TS 2013-07 Portage Road speed control, and I'll ask our city clerk to comment.
Your Worship, Mr. Dren will be making a PowerPoint presentation on this. The residents in the area were sent a notice late last week, and they were asked to notify me if they requested to speak. So we did receive two requests, Ms. Janice Ain and Mr. Bill Muir. There's also a correspondence in your package from Mr. McGinnity in favor of the speed humps. So after Mr. Dren does his PowerPoint, I would suggest that you then hear from the two residents who requested to speak.
Thank you. Yes, Councillor Thompson.
Just regarding Mr. McGannity's letter, I think he was talking about the one speed hump, which is to the north. I don't think he was, or that was any kind of a concern. The one that's to the south, he was talking about the one by the day nursery.
I see we have Bev here too, so she'll have an opportunity as well if you want to weigh into it. Yeah. Okay, sounds good. All right, Mr. Dren, take it away.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. If we can go to the next, okay. The first slide is really just to familiarize council with the area. The north, where the stop sign is up there, that's Churches Lane. To the south, where the traffic signal symbol is St. Paul, Portage, and O'Neill. The section that we're speaking of regarding the speed humps is in between the Mayfair Drive and Stanford Green Drive. As well, there's a daycare in the area. Let's see if mine works as well. So the areas on black, it's hard to see, but right there's 2 speed humps. Stanford Green Park is right there, and the daycare is right in this area, which is in between the 2 speed humps. Next, again, just to give you an overview of what we're looking at out there, you have 2 speed humps on Portage Road in that area, and what these illustrate is really what drivers see when they're driving down the road there. There's 2 signs on each side of the road for the speed hump. There's a slow symbol there. In addition to that, we've also incorporated at the intersection of O'Neill and Portage a no heavy trucks sign with the fine tab on it. Now, just to give you a bit of background, the speed humps were originally approved back in 2011, in fall of 2011. They were in for approximately 6 months, and then this came back to council requesting us to do something at the intersection because there was issues of noise relayed to us by the residents that are adjacent to the southernmost speed hump. And in that directive, what we did is we further reduced the size of the speed hump, lowered it in half, and to try and reduce the noise. And again, just to give you some information, the operating speed prior to the speed humps were at 68 kilometers per hour. Once the speed humps went in, it reduced down to 44 kilometers per hour. That was in between the 2 speed humps. And then following the reduction in the size of the 1 speed hump, the speeds went back up, one at 52 kilometers an hour, one at 46 kilometers per hour, but still within the posted speed limit. And again, the concerns of noise continued after that, even though it was modified. So we looked at several alternatives, and your report outlines those alternatives, and I'll just quickly go through them with you. The first is do nothing, leave them as is, and again, that's what staff's recommending in this report. And the reason is it's controlling the speed. Speed humps are there 365 days a year. Unlike regular enforcement, they're there all the time, and they're self-enforcing. So from our perspective, we're suggesting that they remain. However, this still doesn't address the noise as well. That has no financial impact. We then looked at relocating the speed humps, and really this wasn't an option because of the driveways. And if you were to relocate them, the one to the south, it would be too far away to be effective. And so therefore this option was not considered. The next option was to remove the speed humps, and but our concern was by removing them, if you remove both of them, you're probably going to bring the speeds back up to where they were before. And so therefore that was not an option or something we would recommend. The next option is community safety zones, and this would go in conjunction with the removal of one of the speed humps, possibly both. And it's community safety zone, as you're probably aware, is we established one in the Kaler Road and McLeod Road area, and basically what it does is allow the police to give out fines at double the speed. They're usually associated with areas where there's pedestrian volumes, where there's parks, where there's areas where we have concern of traffic safety. And in this case, as I illustrated in the first slide with the map, is there is a park in the area and there is daycare in the area. So this could be an option. Again, the impact would be to remove the speed humps and install the signs, which equates to about $4,000. And that one also requires police enforcement. The next consideration was an always stop, to take out the southern speed hump and replace it with an always stop. Again, I don't believe it'll achieve the noise issue because it'll be accelerating, decelerating at the stop sign. Also, the stop sign is really not warranted with respect to traffic flows, but it would be two controls within a reasonable distance of each other. If you left the northern speed hump in and put in the always stop, it is an option. The financial impact is about $4,500. The last one that we looked at was an alternative speed control plan, in where we would install, remove the southern speed hump, install some curb extensions to the south, install a median, again, further up the road, and you'd still have this speed hump up there. The cost of this one is quite a bit. It's $25,000. However, it was one of the items that was considered. So the cost to date, the initial construction of the speed humps were $6,500. The modification to the existing speed hump was $4,200, so around $10,000 that we spent to date in this area. So based on what we're seeing out there as far as speeds are concerned, the speed humps are doing the job. There is a daycare in that area, and there is concerns from other residents in the area saying that it was a speedway before, and they're concerned that adjusting it will bring that back. So our recommendation is to keep the speed humps.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Dren. Do we have any questions of council? Mr. Dren? Okay, seeing none, I know we do have some people here that would like to speak. On the speakers list right now, I've got Janice Hain, Bill Muir, who called in, and then we'll get a motion if Bevan would like to speak as well. So, Janice, would you like to step forward?
Sure.
Just step up to the podium here, please. I'll ask you to state your name and your address, please.
Janice Ain, 3262 Portage Road, right at the speed hump. The one that was lowered. Okay, I have a few things.
For the record, that's the southerly.
The southern speed hump. First of all, there was a lot of council members that didn't know that we've been fighting this speed hump ever since it's been put in. There's been petitions, there's been emails, there's been letters, everything taken down to Marzina Carrick's office at least twice, emails sent, and I don't know if anyone really knows that we have been fighting this for about 1.5 years already. I'm here on behalf of a few of the neighbors because they can't come because one's in Scotland. One, we were on the agenda too early, he has to work. And the other two, I think they said they were opening their cottage or something, but I do have letters from them, if I can read them. They're very short. Okay, here's one. It says, due to the ineffectiveness and constant disturbing noise created by the south hump, we strongly request removal. It is a nuisance, and we have seen cars speed up and fly over it just for fun. Another traffic calming device that would not create noise would be welcomed, and that was signed by Bill and Beverly Bateman. That's right opposite from me, right at the other end of the south speed hump. Oops, please let me get my glasses. Here's another one from the people that are in Scotland. It says, this shall serve to reinforce and reinstate my position that I remain committed to the removal of the south speed hump on Portage Road, based on the fact that it seems ineffective and is causing intolerable noise for the residents in close proximity to it. I am also not in favor of installation of an all-way stop, as it will present safety hazard to our ability to enter and exit our driveway. I remain supportive of all the efforts of my neighbor Janice Ain in her battle to solve this erroneous problem. I have one more. From my next door neighbor, he's the one that were on the agenda too early. He couldn't get out of work. It says, speed hump very noisy and cars, trucks still speeding by. Strongly suggest removal of south hump and implement another method to slow the traffic, and that was signed by Guido Lawrence. Okay, the cars are still flying by. Not so much on the north speed hump because the speed hump is higher, but the speed hump in front of my house is lower, and it's extremely noisy. Every single car that goes by, as soon as the wheels hit the edge of that speed hump, we hear boom, 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 all the time. It's constant. There was one day, well, more than one day actually, in 5 minutes there was 25 vehicles that went by. At about 20 to 30% of them were pickup trucks, and when the pickup trucks go over the speed hump and the back box hits the wheels, it's terrible. It's absolutely terrible. About 5 to 10% are trucks with trailers on the back, and the trailers are full of lawn equipment or tractors or something that goes over the speed hump constantly. So you also have the wheels of the cars, you have the wheels of the trucks, and you have the wheels of the trucks with the trailers. I don't know, we don't know why one hump wasn't installed first. Even one hump would have slowed the traffic. Where we have found that anything slows the traffic. If we stand at the side of the sidewalk and look at the road to watch what's going on, the traffic slows down. If there's a car parked there, the traffic slows down. We did a small experiment with 2 cars. We parked one car right in front of my house where the speed hump is, and the other car directly across the other end of the speed hump. Every single car that went down that street slowed down. Every single one of them. And not only did they slow, but they would really slow, and they would allow each other to pass. And there was lots of room for 2 cars to pass at the same time, but they still slowed. It slowed every single car. Didn't help the noise because the speed hump was still there. As I said, if the cars are going fast or slow, it doesn't matter. As soon as those wheels hit the hump, that's what you hear, is thump, thump, thump all the time. The municipal works trucks are some of the worst. I've contacted them. I know they forget sometimes, and they do drive down the street. I have seen them where we're coming right from Portage Road where the road splits. They'll go down Portage Road, then they'll turn left on Stanford Green Drive and go right on St. Paul, when she could have just went right down St. Paul to begin with. And they have a lot of trailers. There was a Vacon truck, I think it was. Is that Municipal Works also? The big vacuum truck that cleans out the sewers, I think. That was going over the speed humps the other day. And my neighbor came out of her house. It wasn't that truck, it was another one with a great big huge dump truck. And she said, "Did you hear that?" I said, "Yeah, I heard it." People are always saying to me, somebody's at my house, they hear doors closing. No, there's nobody here. It's not door closing. It's the speed hump. I have to tell everybody it's the speed hump. It's the speed hump. The school buses. School buses, for some reason, are going down Portage Road, not the ones that stop at the nursery school. They have to go, I know, we understand that. But there are school buses that go down Portage Road that are completely, totally empty. They come back completely, totally empty. And it's just like somebody, if you listen to a parade and somebody's walking by with the bass drum, that's exactly what it sounds like when the wheels fall off that speed hump and hit the road. We've seen cars slow down, and I saw it again today, as a matter of fact. Some of the cars that do slow down, we've seen other cars pass them. And that's extremely dangerous. The vehicles are slow and fast. There's fast vehicles and there's slow vehicles, just like before. I know there is a bylaw, a noise bylaw, whether it's all day long or whether it's from before 7 in the morning, from 9 at night till 7 in the morning, I don't know. But the cars, especially the ones that are the lowrider cars, the people are going to work in the morning, we hear them rev up, rev up, rev up over that speed hump. And it's terrible noise, starts at like 4:30 in the morning. The chicanes to me is a great idea. I don't know why they have to be so expensive. I don't know why they have to be so elaborate. We have looked at the road and we have come up with some thoughts of extending the sidewalks, like just bringing them out like a chicane. I don't know why that middle part has to be in the road. Beaver Dams has chicanes. I don't know why Portage Road can't have them, and other roads have them too, so we don't have to put up with the noise. Now, I tried my darndest for the past couple of days to get noise on this tape player. Just give me 5 minutes. It's not a long tape at all. You can hear the speed of the cars, and there's one part where you can hear a truck going over, and you can hear it bounce all the way down the road. If I can play that for you, I hope it's loud enough.
Hold it up to the microphone, maybe.
Those cars are not slowing down. There's a truck coming shortly. You can hear the boom. That's what we hear all the time. That's just more cars going by. You don't think you really need to hear any more. Okay, I know we just want the one speed hump removed. I stand out there sometimes and I can see the cars going from south to north. They speed over my speed hump, they get to the speed hump that's past the nursery school, and they slow down because that speed hump is much higher. It doesn't seem to bother the people there because the other house is a rental. The people have moved out. People at the nursery school aren't going to hear it because they're in with the kids all day long, and they're not there on weekends, they're not there in the evenings. We're there 365 days of the year. We have to listen to this noise. And of course, Bev Hodgson represents the nursery school, so she can't say remove the speed hump. But we don't care about theirs. That's fine. That's fine. That's fine. It's just the one speed hump that's really annoying to myself, the neighbors directly across the street, the one next to me, and the one next to me, and next on the other side. And we just would like to find something that's acceptable to everybody. As I said, you know, I built my house specifically so I had a beautiful front porch to sit out on. I can't sit out there anymore because the minute I open the front door, it's just a constant ba-boom, 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 ba-boom. And then you hear the crashes and the bangs. And one day something went over so heavy, it was like a house blew up, actually. And that's when the neighbor came out of her house and said, "Did you hear that?" There's so much traffic on Portage Road. It's not a side street. It's a main artery, and there's far too many cars on that street for a speed hump.
Okay, thank you very much, Ms. Ain. Just before you go away, we'll ask if anyone from council has any questions for Ms. Ain. Maybe Mr. Dren could just address the one, you made a comment about the chicanes. Is there what's the parking status on that stretch of road, Carl?
It's really not the parking status that's causing the problem for the chicanes, it's the number of driveways. And you can't build it out properly because people need access to their driveways. That's why the cost is as expensive as it is at $25,000.
Put a chicane right in front of my house. I don't care, it's quiet.
They have to be designed appropriately, you know, to standard. So, I mean, we looked at all the options for doing that. I mean, road narrowing is one of the options, and you know, perhaps there's other ones if the council chooses to do something else. But you know, two devices in unison is what really makes it effective. You can't have a single device, so you need something together. It's kind of like if you drive down Valley Way, there's a single speed hump, but there's a curve. So it's two things occurring together. When you're going down Beaver Dams, there are speed humps and chicanes. So there's multiple items together that causes the traffic to slow down. So you need two. One by itself would mean people would race up to it and then race away from it. So you'd have the speeds going up very quickly. So you need two together.
Well,
Thanks.
you can just see that the cars are not slowing down in front of my house. Some are, of course, but there's still some that are doing well over 60 kilometers an hour.
All right, thanks very much. Oh, we have a question, Janice.
Just
Councillor
to,
Gates?
Yeah, just to Janice, as she knows, I came down to her house actually, because this report's almost a year old, quite frankly, to talk about. You've been fighting this for over a year and a half. And I did go by, and everything that she's presented to us tonight is very accurate. I stayed there for quite a while, maybe an hour, hour and a half. You actually came home while I was there. So I think, just to make sure the rest of the council understands that. But I take a look at number 3 here. Maybe somebody could answer this. Remove the speed humps. Financial impact, if you remove one, it's $2,000. But if you remove them both, they're $2,700. That doesn't make a lot of sense to me, so maybe somebody could explain why it'd be $2,000 to get rid of one and only $2,700 to get rid of two. You would think they'd be like in half, right? So, I don't know. Maybe
No,
somebody-
what it is you're mobilizing the equipment. So once you have the equipment out there, to remove the second one isn't that costly. So if you were to do one at a time and do them individually, it would be $2,000 each.
So just slow the job.
Yeah.
All right. All right, thank you.
Ms. Hain, could we get those copies of those letters from you as well for the clerk?
Sure.
Councillor Maves?
No, I just wondered, looking at that and the speed humps, if we removed both of those speed humps and put a stop at Mayfair, do you think that would help? As a trial basis even, maybe it would slow things down, because I know that even on Drummond Road, when they put the four-way stop at Parker Street, it kind of slowed things down on Drummond Road, so I'm just wondering if that wouldn't be a possibility to do that.
Mr. Dren?
Again, with respect to always stops, it doesn't meet the warrant on its own. You would have to put multiples. So you'd have to put a couple on that street if that's what council wanted to do. So that you're getting, it's kind of like if you drive downtown, you have always stops in a row, and it keeps the speeds down. If you have a single one, again, it's like having a single speed hump. The speeds are going to go up as soon as the vehicles leave the intersection.
Okay. Councillor Wing and Thompson?
Yeah, I'm just trying to figure when the four-way stop went in at Drummond and Barker Street, because I live there and haven't seen it yet. But anyhow, the combination, I agree, is the way to go. And I'm thinking, it sounds like the north speed hump needs to stay. And I like the community safety zone idea. Now, I have one question on that. The heavy trucks are as much of a problem as the speeding. So would the heavy trucks prohibition be subject to double fines? Would that be one of the offenses?
Mr. Dren? Does that fall into that?
That's a good question. I'm not sure. We'd have to check into that.
Okay. I'm saying, noted that when they did their experiment with parked cars, narrowing of the street works, and I know when I lived on the other part of Barker, we did the same experiment, and because cars whip along there, it's quite a stretch without any stops, and it worked there as well. Narrowing does work. Mr. Dren noted that road narrowing is an option. Now, is that number 6, the alternate speed control plan, or is there another means of narrowing the road? So I'm just looking for some cost estimates on that, because 25,000 is a lot, but right now it's looking like that might be the best option. But I'm just sort of trying to find some medium ground to do.
Mr. Dren?
I mean, that's a plan that staff put together using standard criteria. I guess, you know, if that's an option that council wants us to pursue, we can look at other alternatives related to that, see if there's anything else. I mean, I know our staff went through it and tried to make it as cost effective as possible, but we could revisit it again and see what there is. The problem are the driveways. So anytime you introduce things like chicanes or road narrowing, to put a barrier in there, you really can't, because there's a driveway in the way. And to have a vehicle come through the center of the barrier is not really appropriate, and it's not the standard. So we would have to look at. That's why that one illustration actually pulls it back away from the intersection there. So where the speed hump is right here, but it's pulling the road narrowing away because there's too many driveways along here to put a road narrowing or chicane in this area. And that's why we went with the mountable center island to allow people that are going into driveways to cross over it. And again, that has a narrowing effect from the center out. So you're putting this island here to narrow the road in this area versus having two side narrowing coming from the side, and you're narrowing it to the center.
As expensive as these options are, I think they would control both problems, the excessive speed and the use by heavy trucks. And I notice that just keeps coming up. Even Mr. McGannity's letter said you should about reminding city staff that driving a truck with a wheelbarrow in the back really should be done at a slower speed. Yeah, so there's multiple neighbors noticing the problem with municipal works trucks and other trucks, and particularly those with trailers. So I'm thinking narrowing the road, chicanes particularly, would probably help solve that problem, which is going to be ongoing as well. So it looks like we're going to need a report back from staff, but I think we're narrowing the options on what we can do to address this.
And the road. Councillor Thompson.
Thank you. I think we're talking strictly about the southern hump. The other one seems to be working. There was nobody who was opposed to that staying, and certainly the daycare is particularly important. I've had numerous discussions with Mrs. Zane over the, seems like longer than a year and a half, but anyway, we have bylaws about noise, we have bylaws to restrict people being disturbed in their neighborhood and their properties. This seems to be a persistent one for the people right in that area, and I think we have a responsibility, regardless of the cost, to come in with a final report indicating exactly how we can narrow the road at that particular location. Have you got that up there again? I talked about, with the complainants, about the possibility of a four-way stop. There doesn't seem to be any support from that, because you got the cars that will stop, and then you have them accelerating, creating additional noise. So I would make a motion that the report come back indicating how we can, as effectively and efficiently as possible, narrow that particular area and remove the hump. And I still like the idea of the one in the middle of the street where it divides the center median. So I would move we finally get rid of this after a year and a half.
Maybe just before we call that vote, we do have two more speakers that would like to be heard, and then we can call that vote. Next up, I've got Bill Muir, registered to speak. Mr. Muir, if you could just state your address for the clerk.
My name is Bill Muir, and I live at 3258 Portage Road. And I'm in here to tell you that I'm in favor of leaving that speed bump the way it is. You've already heard from this gentleman that what the speed was before, what it was after the speed bump was in, and unfortunately when we lowered the other one in half the height, it sped up a little bit again. But and it was a cost of $4,000 to the taxpayers to have that done, which I didn't think needed to be done. Now, I understand from the letter we got that there's 30 speed bumps all over the city in 11 different districts, and our district seems to be the only one that's complaining about the noise. Yesterday, I sat out in my truck for a while, right at the curb, right in front of the speed bump, and just listened to what was going on. And the speed of the cars going by, and the tires on the road were just as loud as what they were going over that speed bump. And I don't think there was that much noise. Over 50% of the cars that do come down that street are slowing down. And so I think there's nothing wrong with that. I will admit that when a pickup truck goes over that bump with material in the back, if they're going fast, that stuff will jump up and come down, and it does make a noise. But that's I think for the minimal amount of noise that we have and the cost or the what it has done to slow down some of the traffic, I don't think they should be removed. I was over talking to the people at the nursery school today, and they also don't feel like it should be removed. I know in the summertime, when they send the children on bus trips, they congregate in front of the nursery until the bus arrives. And kids being kids, they play up and down there, and they run in front of the house, in front of our house. And if any one of them should happen to run out onto the street, which sometimes kids do, and the car's coming along at those speeds, there'd be no chance for them. I know I looked at some of the alternatives that they have in there, and the one with where you're going to put something of concrete in the middle of the road and cut it down to 6 meters. I don't know how that would work, but it would sure cut down the size of the street. It would probably eliminate the parking in front of our house and also in front of the nursery. So I don't like that idea either. And the way it's located, looking at the map, it's almost in front of our driveway. I know they're supposed to be put so that they're not involving anybody's driveway. But I don't want to be backing out over it or driving over to get into my driveway if they put that sort of thing in the driveway. So, other than that, I don't see anything wrong with them. I think they should be left. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Muir. Any questions for Mr. Muir of council? Well, I'm sure. What was your address again, Mr. Muir?
Pardon?
Your address?
3258.
Okay. Question from council, which side of the road are you on? Are you on the same side as the nursery or the opposite side?
Pardon?
Which side of the street are you on, the west side or the east?
On the same side as the nursery.
Okay, so you're on the east side.
Right beside the nursery.
Right beside, okay. Okay. Any questions of Mr. Muir? Okay. All right, thank you very much, sir.
Thank you.
Did I have, was there anyone else that wanted to address council on this issue? Okay, I'll just need, I'll need a motion just to bring that forward. Moved by Councilor Ioannoni, second by Councilor Thompson. All those in favor? Okay, come forward, thank you. Ms. Hodgson, if you could state your address, please, that'd be great.
Thank you. My name's Bev Hodgson, and my address is 3227 Portage Road. I think the main point that everyone has made tonight is that there is a speed problem on Portage Road. And your statistics have shown that there was a speed problem before the speed humps were put in. The speeds were lessened by the speed humps, and when the one speed hump was lowered, the speeds increased again. My husband and I have the speed hump directly in front of our property. Across from us is a rental property, but those neighbors they live there too. They're sleeping in and living there on a daily basis. The rental property, the Fergusons, who are directly across from us, and the daycare are all concerned about the speeds. It may be an enforcement issue, and more police presence in the road may be a huge problem solving. But one concern we have specifically is that when the other speed bump was lowered, it had already been the opinion of the number of us that live around the north speed bump that it wasn't high enough in the first place. And one of the options I haven't heard is whether or not increasing the height of the speed bumps would be effective in slowing traffic. The reason people speed over them, and you probably could tell from listening to the tape, is because the faster you go over the hump, the easier it is on the cars. They're almost traversing the hump. 50%, I would agree, probably do slow down, but there are others who specifically do speed up in order to go over the hump. And, of course, anybody with the trucks. We're hearing the noise, but those of us on the north are prepared to live with the noise in order to have the reduction in the speed. Our concern, it has been addressed by your staff, that if the speed bump is removed, whatever you do, it has to be at least as effective as what you have now, or frankly, what you had before. And I think it may even be a liability issue for the city now that you have recognized that there is a need, by reducing the effectiveness, whatever step you take. If it is reduced and then there is an accident, I believe there would be a greater increase of liability for the city. If there were to be an always stop at Mayfair and an always stop at Stamford Green Drive on Portage Road, that may be an option, because you would have stopping traffic, and stopping traffic may alleviate the noise. But as you could tell from the tape, the noise is really the speeding of the vehicles. We do stress to you that it is a safety issue, and ask that any steps that you take will confirm that the speeds will be reduced. Thanks.
Any questions of Ms. Hodgson? No. Okay, we're good. Thank you. All right. Any questions of council for staff, or comments, or discussion? Okay. Well, we're looking. Well, do we still have this motion? Okay. So do we need to have?
I'm going to report back, so that's fine. We might even incorporate the traffic area sign there too, to further reduce the speed or increase fines.
Okay. So, Mr. Dren, did you hear the motion that was made earlier to make sure that we've got clarity on its direction? Maybe we'll get the clerk to repeat it.
Yeah, the
I
motion,
understand it, I just want to...
staff report back on the possibility of narrowing the road and removal of the south speed hump.
So my question would be, is that's what you want staff to focus on, is the narrowing of the road and how we can achieve that?
I think there is consensus on the north speed hump. I think everyone's good with leaving that one, and I think there's some concern certainly with the south one because of the neighbors. Yet more concerning is the speed. So if there's a way to address the speed and alleviate the sound, then certainly that would be the way. We got Councillor Maves and Councillor Morocco.
Yeah, I think that Ms. Hodgson, she mentioned that always stops. I don't know why we just don't try it. It would be probably the cheapest way to go. And it'd be on a trial basis if we put those in for a few months and see what happens. And then maybe go from there. Rather than, I mean, we've already got a study, we've got all kinds of alternatives. I think maybe we should try that.
When we were talking about yes, Mr. Dren?
Just if I can provide perspective on the always stop, is that the noise level will actually increase, because what you're doing is you're forcing vehicles to stop or attempt to stop rather than slow down to 20 or 30 kilometers per hour, and then if they accelerate, they're not accelerating from a stop.
I kind of disagree with that. I live at the corner of Mountain Road and Dorchester Road, and they put in the stoplights there. Before, the cars used to whiz up and down. I've got big commercial vehicles, everything going up and down Mountain Road with everything in them, and I don't see any more noise from people taking off and back and forth. I kind of disagree with that. I don't think the noise would increase with that.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Morocco.
Yes, Your Worship. Actually, I was along the same lines as Councillor Maves in regards to the always stop and increasing more stops in that area. I mean, we do definitely have an issue that's at hand, and safety is the first and foremost. You've got a daycare in there, and it's a good stretch. And I still can't believe, even with all these speed bumps, well, yes, I can, that you still want to have people just still flying by. I mean, even by the sounds of that tape, and actually by going to that road, people just don't really go slow. They still go fast. I know in some areas that I've actually been, as well as Councillor Maves said, when you have a lot more stops, people have to stop and actually take a moment to look around at their surroundings. And maybe if they actually do that, I can't talk for everybody because they're not all the same people that we deal with every day. I did say that out loud in my outside voice. But I think we need to try something. I mean, we've tried the speed bumps, they're not working, and I think it's really not fair in another way that we put the speed bumps to try and control it, but yet there's a neighbor that has to deal with the thumping noise of vehicles going over the speed bump. I know you just can't pick and choose the neighbor that's going to get stuck with the speed bump, and unfortunately, this lady has. So I would like to see if there's an opportunity, as Councillor Mavis says, to look at all stops in that area as well.
Okay, well, right now we have a motion that's looking at the narrowing to the southerly. Did we want to include in the motion to the mover? Looks like we've got an interest from councillors to also look at an all-way stop. Do you want to include that in the report back to narrow it down? Okay, the seconder is okay with it. Is the mover okay with it?
Well, I talked to some of the people in the area, and they don't like it, but it's going to be a report back to council.
Right. Okay. So we've got an amended motion to ask staff to come back. So we're reaffirming support for the northern speed hump, but to look at traffic calming with narrowing of the roadway and also the option of an all-way stop. I guess that would be at Stanford Green Drive. Is that what we're looking at? Yeah? Okay. What's that, Councilor?
Mayfair as well.
Okay.
The
And we'll,
suggestion was both corners.
Okay.
I don't know why we wouldn't do that.
yes, Mr. Dren?
The Mayfair one would be right beside the speed hump is there. So you don't want to put the speed hump in a...
Oh, no, Mayfair's to the north. Is Mayfair...
It's right where the speed hump is.
The southerly
northern,
one?
No, the northern.
Right.
Yes.
So that...
you wouldn't want to put an all-way stop
no.
there as well.
What's the
You
street?
can't-
Is it Carmen to the south? Yeah, it's Carmen. So are we looking at the option of both Stanford Green Drive and Carmen?
Carmen is to the south, so you're
Right.
going through the intersection of, maybe you can pull up the other one, the alternative 6, a little bit clearer. So Carmen is right here, and just a little bit south of that is the intersection, the traffic signal. So you're suggesting put the all-way stop there,
Or is that too close to the,
Should be further up there.
or are you suggesting that the all-way stop be here?
right there, Stanford Green Drive,
Because
Councilor?
here's the northern speed hump, so you wouldn't want the all-way stop here and
No.
the speed hump right
No,
there.
not at
So-
Mayfair.
So if you put the all-way stop, we would look at putting it there.
That make more sense?
Carmen's probably close to light.
Exactly, that's what Carl's saying. It's too close to the light. Okay, so we're clear on this. We're looking at two options staff to look at. So at the south, the traffic calming of narrowing and the option of always stop at Stanford Green Drive. So if everyone understands the motion, we'll call the vote. Yes, Councilor Morocco?
Why not at Mayfair Drive?
Mayfair, because that's north, that's above the northern speed hump.
Yeah, it's on the other side.
And that one's okay, we're okay on that end.
Okay.
It's on the south end that the concern is. Okay, so we'll call the vote. All those in favor? Okay, that's unanimous. Thank you to everybody for coming out, and we'll make sure you sign the sign-in sheet so you can be notified. What's that? There's no sign-in sheets, but we'll make sure you're notified. Thank you.
Don't sign them.
They will be ignored if you do, yes. Okay. All right, now moving along to item F, 2013-29 water billing transition. What's that? Okay, we're going to ask our CAO if he would do this report.
If you just go back for a second, that'll be fine. I'm just going to preface it here for a bit. I'm going to start this report off because I have some information to talk to you about related to some of our customer service initiatives, and then Mr. Harrison will finish off with the specific water report. But you remember just after the last term of council, one of the strategic priorities that council had was to look at our customer service initiatives and improve customer service. And since that time, staff has been working on a number of initiatives. And we have Dale Morton with us tonight, who out of my office has been working on a lot of different initiatives related to customer service. And one of those initiatives last year was that we embarked on a customer service survey. And that customer service survey included front counter customers over the internet and by telephone, random telephone calls. And the interesting part of that survey was that, for the most part, our customers believe that we are doing a good job at delivering the services we deliver. But as anything, there's always room for improvement. And one of the initiatives that was identified in that survey was for us to look at either expanded customer service hours or look at expanded customer service locations. And one of the initiatives we're here to talk to you tonight about sort of dovetails in with our water report. And I'm going to just speak to council about what we feel that initiative should be. So Dean, if you just want to go ahead. Everybody's quite familiar with the McBain Center. And the McBain Center is an area that's located in our fastest growing area of the community in the southwest quadrant. And what we see is in the front lobby area, very beautiful surroundings. You see the recreation and culture kiosk. We believe there's an opportunity here for us to expand our customer service out to this location. And what we are proposing is that we're going to take this location and create what we call a My City Customer Service Center. And out of that center, with us bringing our water services back, we would look at providing a number of different services from this location. And for lack of better words, we'd almost be looking at it as a bit of a satellite where we would have a cashiering station along with some water staff, taxation staff, perhaps parking staff, our recreation staff, and customers in that end of the city could be serviced from this location rather than having to always come down to City Hall. And we're using this as a bit of a pilot project. We believe that there's an opportunity to serve our customers better at different locations, at multiple locations, and this would be the first location that we believe fits that bill. A very new building, a new building centrally located. It's on bus routes. It's in, again, our fastest growing area of the city, which is the southwest quadrant. As you can see, the building is just very conducive to that kind of environment. We have multiple services already at that location, including the YMCA. We have a branch library, and we feel by adding some additional services that we provide, it can create a better customer service for our residents. So if we just go forward, these are just some other pictures of the area we're looking at. These are the kind of one-stop shopping opportunities we're thinking about. So at the McBain Center, you'd be able to pay property taxes, pay a parking ticket, pay for business renewals and invoices. You'd be able to buy a transit ticket, buy a parking pass, buy your dog tag renewal. In terms of other services, next slide, Dean. You'd be able to rent from the recreation people that are there, book your ice, book an athletic field, look at booking some of our other facilities. And then there's a number of various information things that you would be able to get at this site. So there's various forms, next slide, Dean, on whether it be a marriage form, application, you could pick up a birth certificate application. This would be an area where it would be a first point of getting some information. If you had to be referred downtown, the person at the kiosk could provide you with contact information, whether it be through the clerk's department, finance department, building department, but it would be sort of a first point of entry where people would be introduced to some of the services that we provide. Again, other different brochures, different building information, we're looking at a customer service area where you could pick up different things that would provide you with different details on the site types of services that we provide here at the City of Niagara. One of the things we're looking at is expanded service hours. These are proposed. We haven't worked out the details. But for example, we believe there's an opportunity at the center to expand our service hours past 4:30 to provide an opportunity for those services between 4:30 and 8 p.m. That would coincide with what the hours for example, the library is. And we're looking at an opportunity to provide expanded service on Saturday from 9 until 1. So no longer would a resident have to rely on the opening of City Hall or any other facility from 8:30 to 4:30. This would provide an opportunity if they wanted to go in and pay a bill or have an inquiry. This would be an opportunity to do that with some expanded service. We believe this is a good way to continue our customer service initiatives. If this kind of template works, we could potentially see in the future expanding that into other locations. We have some beautiful facilities now that provide multiple services, and we believe McBain Center is a really good opportunity to start that. It would require some renovations to the front counter area. In the report that Mr. Harrison's going to propose, we believe that there's an opportunity to do that. with some of our water resources that we have. The interior offices are spacious, there's enough room there. All of the staff have been talked to. We've talked to our union, we've talked to our recreation staff, our water and parking staff, our finance staff, so all of the staff's been informed that we're looking to this. We are looking at an implementation, as the water report will show you, but we're really looking at implementing this so that for January of 2014 we could have this program up and running. There's an implementation program to get staff hired and relocated, and that's coming out in Mr. Harrison's report. And there's some conversion issues. So we truly believe that we could provide a better customer service program, and we're looking forward to implementing this and having that available to our residents by January of 2014. So, Mr. Mayor, unless there's any specific questions, Mr. Harrison will continue on with the presentation, but up to this point I'd be happy to answer anything, any question that council may have.
Any questions in regard to the customer service enhancement that the CEO spoke of? Okay, Councilor Morocco, then Thompson.
Yes, I think it's a great idea that we have the one-stop shop at McBain. I think that's a great idea to have that opportunity for our residents. The one thing I'm just concerned about is the cost that's going to add on. We're talking about taking back the water bill, is that correct?
Yes.
And taking that on, there's also some talk that I've heard that the region is looking to take over water and sewer. Has there been some consideration that that happens, and what happens to us creating a position for 4 people, for 4 staff, but potentially down the road, I'm sure. Yeah. And just the overall cost. So will that be a part of the report too?
Mr. Harrison's going to speak to that. I can briefly speak to one part, so I'll let Mr. Harrison talk about the cost. And we believe there will be a cost savings for us in terms of what it is today for providing that service. If you go one step further... I'm sorry,
just a cost comparison as to if we left it at the hydro?
Right
still,
now
sorry,
it's
I'll call
about
it hydro, but...
1 point. Mr. Harrison speaks to the specific
cost. Thank you. The cost right now that we paid in 2012 was just under $1.1 million for the service. We believe, again, depending on the models, on the time that we're open, the availability, we could see savings up to 20% on that cost. And the reasons for that are...
Excuse me, but is that yearly?
Yes. Yes. It's an annual savings, up to 20%. It could be 10%, but again, it depends on what we do in regards to the extended hours and that. So we certainly believe that there's savings to be. We've looked at this for a couple of years now. I mean, there's been some things that have happened over the period of time since we initially took on the water billing, and we engaged Niagara Peninsula Energy, formerly Niagara Falls Hydro, to do this work. One of the biggest things is the emergence of the smart meters at Hydro. The synergies have been reduced for that. There are also synergies with our existing financial systems that we believe is a benefit.
So we already have the system in place to take back the water billing.
Well, we have an accounting system that facilitates that. The VATM system, as it's outlined in the report, is a fully functional accounting system. We use it for tax, our GL, various other segments. We also have the ability to add a water module onto that.
And that will be an added cost? So every time I hear you say add, I have to say that's an added cost because I go to ching.
Yeah. Well, I'm telling you right now that the estimate that when we bring this back, we'll have an annual savings of approximately 20%, which is roughly $200,000. Our total implementation cost, which includes potential renovation costs, will not be that high. So
okay, so we're going to look at the renovation. Sorry, so I want to look at the renovation, and I also want the cost of that, and then we also are going to consider 4 staff that are going to be implemented into that cost every year. So are you still saying that over and above after the renovations and the inclusion of 4 additional staff, that we're still going to save 20%?
Yes, that's what we're saying.
Really? So you'll show us those numbers?
Yep, absolutely.
And just to that point, Councillor Iannone.
Thank you. I'd like to know why, from the time we contracted with NPEI to do this, until 2012, the cost escalated so high? Because I sit on that board. Smart meters has nothing to do with the reading of the water meters and the billing of the water here. I mean,
Yeah.
Wayne and I both sit there. So I'd like to know why the cost escalated so highly.
That's really that's the hydro's charge to us. Their cost that they've been billing us has escalated that much over that number of years.
The full cost, the hydro, as all the council is aware, the full cost, they are regulated under the Ontario Power.
You don't have to tell me how hydro bills. I'm
No,
quite.
I'm not talking about how they bill. I'm talking about how they, every time a staff member touches water, they have to record that because there's specific regulations that they have to. And over time, this has incurred an increased cost. We've looked at this. At the time, way back when we initially looked at that, the city wasn't in a position to do this. The cost of implementing the financial software system was very significant. We didn't have the capability to do that. So over time, we've additionally added staff in the finance department to deal with certain collections issues as it relates to operations as well.
Mr. Mayor, just can I interrupt for a second? I sit on that board, so we're pretty up to date. But I remember distinctly when we transferred it from here to there. NPEI contracted out the reading of the meters.
Yes.
So
yes.
NPEI didn't bill for that. So that, I'd like to know why. Maybe somebody can bring back a report and tell us why we went from, because I remember there was a cost per meter, and I remember there was a cost that everything was before us at the time. Can somebody bring back a report or email us and let us know why it almost doubled? Because I don't remember us doubling it, and I'll call NPEI tomorrow and find that out too. But I'd like to know why the cost is so much higher now.
Well, and I guess for tonight's discussion, what we can indicate to you is what we were billed, or what we're currently being billed, is about $1.1 million.
Okay.
So where that started and how it got there, we'll have to get the details from them. But that's what we're currently being billed. And I think what Mr. Harrison is telling you is that based on the additional 4 staff, based on renovations, and sort of those software conversion startups, at the end of the day, on an ongoing basis, we believe we can save about 20% on that bill going forward. Back to your one comment about the region taking over water, it gets much bigger than that. And actually, Mr. Harrison will have just a general report for us probably at the next meeting. You have to go way beyond just that, because Mr. Holman probably has about 30 environmental services staff, 25 to 30 environmental services staff, plus our supervisory staff, plus our 4 water building staff. You're probably talking 35 plus people that would be affected. Well, at least it could be 35 to 40 people affected. City of Niagara Falls employees that would be affected by a transfer of that water sewer service to a 1-tier regional thing. So it's a very big issue.
As in loss of jobs?
In transfer of jobs, or transfer or loss. It would almost be like a sale of business. That would all have to be worked out, but that's how many of our staff potentially would be impacted by that move to the region. And one of the things we've been saying, many of the municipalities, is that there are a number of things that we do that are beyond just that singular focus, especially the smaller municipalities where you may be driving a truck and plowing snow, but then you're going out and you're helping out on a sewer water call. And it's not just as easy as saying we're transferring that over, because especially the smaller municipalities where there's multiple functions, it becomes quite complex and it may have a greater impact on them. So that's a whole different discussion. But I don't want you to be thinking that a transfer of that service to the region would just singularly be those would just be billing or sort of admin jobs. And it'd be other admin jobs that we have at the service center, along with all of our outside crews that would be affected by that kind of decision as well.
And just to that point there, Mr. Todd, is that I guess what I'm looking at, if you've got that huge of an impact in a department that would be shifted over, or loss of jobs because of that happening, I don't know if that's ever going to happen or when it will happen, and who will have the final say on that. But I think I was just being a little bit cautious if that's in the air, in the works, that we better be a little bit cautious of hiring, before we hire 4 more staff, if that was the case. So I'm
Yeah.
just kind of
And
wanting to see the whole
thank you.
impact.
Yes, and I appreciate that. We did, that was in our thought process, and our belief was, we're not going to, I'll say it politely, be dictated by what may be happening at other levels. We believe there's an opportunity right now for us to bring this service back, save some money. We really have an issue where our finance staff needs to get sort of control of the data and let our staff be the people that are communicating directly with the customers, and we think this will give us an opportunity to do that. We think this kind of a setup with having, if I could paint that out to you, we would have a team, if you will, here that would be dealing with water and tax inquiries. We'd have another team at McBain. So we'd really be dividing the staff that we have into 2 different locations. We think that'll provide a much better level of service.
Yeah, and I have to say that I think if there's any way that we can actually save at any level, that's great. I'd like to hear that. And 20%, especially on water, when we hear people come all the time at budget to complain about how much their water bills are. I don't know
Yes. And that would be a direct impact on the utility budget. It will not be an impact
on their bill,
on property tax. It would be an impact on the utility or sewer and water portion of yours.
and the conversation with NEPI, like.
Yeah, we've had that discussion for probably.
Sorry, I'm asking the question because I don't know, so I'm
Yes.
asking.
Yeah,
Can I just to that point? Our board has no problem with this. Our board has discussed it endlessly, and quite frankly, I'm prepared to make the motion to move it. They're happy to see it go.
Yes, it's a service that quite frankly, they're not making money on it. It was a service that they've been providing for us. And we've had very amicable discussions over the last year and a half. And as far as even just last week, we had further discussions. So we've been in tune all the way with them. And
Good.
So
Good. Well, thank you very much. I'm eager to see the cost savings, that's for sure. Thank you.
Okay, we've got Councillor Thompson.
I'll move the recommendation.
Okay, well, he already had his.
Pardon me?
No, I just said you already had your hand up, so.
Well, that was about 10 minutes ago.
The 20.
20?
Yep.
You're probably right. Anyway, most of my questions were asked by Councilor Morocco. I think this is probably an appropriate move, simply because I think what we have now, 2 different bodies looking after the same problem. The complaints, they have to go to the city to any negotiations with respect to a bill, any problems back and forth. So I think this will maybe streamline at the city level and provide better customer service. And if there's savings along with it, it's rather alarming to see the cost involved and the escalation. And if that continues, obviously we're going to save money by consolidating this. And I like the idea of having additional service at the McBain Center for a multitude of different areas. So I'll second the motion for Councillor Iannone.
So, okay, so we've got a motion on the floor to move the recommendations, and so there's no need to hear more I think you've covered the SO.
The only reason I second the motion.
Okay, you have a brief point, Mr. Yes, Mr. Harrison.
We'll be coming back with updates because this is critical for customer service, rolling this out. We will be coming back with critical milestones to allow council an update on where we're at and also to let the public know.
Okay, all right, thank you. We have a motion moved by Councillor Iannone, second by Councillor Thompson. Councillor Carrier?
Gladly support the motion, Your Worship. Can we see a breakdown of what it's going to cost us? I'd like to see what it is, how you arrived at your numbers. Sure. Because I was hoping for more than a 20% saving in that 1.1. So I'm just wondering whether there's more money and there's some other things that you guys are planning to do with the savings and we won't maybe see all of it. So I wanted to see exactly where you came up with the 20% savings. Because as I was looking at it, I thought maybe there might be more significant savings than 20%. So I'd like to just see your numbers, maybe when you bring the report back.
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
I would say that the key part of the milestones will bring us back.
Get rid of the cell phones, you'd save another million or two.
Okay, we're ready to call the vote. All those in favor?
Okay, it's unanimous. All right, good job, Mr. Harrison. Okay. Moving on to MW 2013-08, Chippewa Infrastructure Update. And for this report, that's a good one. Mr. Holman, will you be stepping up to the CAO's chair to do this presentation? Smoky? Smoky. Sure, you want to do it from there, wherever you're comfortable.
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. Members of council, you may recall a discussion we had last June regarding the need to conduct emergency bypass pumping and during wet weather events. And at that time, you had asked staff to bring back a report and give us some advice on how to deal with development applications or projects that we're proposing to connect to the Chippewa system. And we've had some discussion with the Ministry of Environment and Niagara Regional staff who were supportive of the steps that we're taking to address this issue and concur with our position that the wet weather impacts are being mitigated through both engineered and operational strategies, that the current commitment of funding for these strategies has been effective to reduce basement flooding and should be continued. And then finally, that by analyzing the impact of new development on a case-by-case basis will help us understand the exact impacts and will eliminate the need for a blanket development restriction or development freeze. Now, maybe to help explain how the system works, the next screen will show you a bit of a graph, a map showing the Chippewa sewer system. The green lines show the gravity sewer system. It drains by gravity to the low-lift pump station, which is the red dot located just, and then the sewage flows are pumped along the force main westerly up Stanley Avenue and will dump into a gravity sewer, which is located in the middle of Thundering Waters Gulf, of course. Those flows are then transferred by pump station along the hydro canal into what they call the Stanford Interceptor, which eventually discharges into the sewage treatment plant located at the very north end of our city. So what happens is that the low-lift pump station, when it's unable to keep up with the flows in the system, the sewage pipes back up to the next lowest point. And the red dots there that are located next to the white boxes show the locations of where the emergency bypass locations are. The storage tanks at key locations allow the flows to provide additional time for the pumps to move the sewage to the proper outlet downstream. And that, the location shown there is the Riverview Park. I'm sorry, the Riverview Park storage tank, which is proposed, and there's another storage tank located right adjacent to the low-lift pump station. Okay, so just to kind of provide an overview of the things we're working on, I mentioned the low-lift pump station and Riverview Park storage facilities are being designed. The low-lift pump station storage facility will start construction later on this fall. The region is also moving ahead with improvements to the pump station to upgrade the pumps so that they can move sewage flows more quickly. And that'll happen this fall as well. We've also included this year's budget or funding for future studies, including the downstream impact analysis to make sure we're not just passing the problem on to somebody else upstream. We're going to be updating our pollution control plan, and we're also going to be looking at a master drainage plan, which will help us understand the impacts of climate change and some of the assumptions that we've made in our design calculations to make sure we are designing our sewer systems, whether it be storm or sanitary, for the appropriate type of storms that we are seeing now. We're also reviewing our development charges study, which will help us identify growth-related capital projects which should be funded from the development community. On the operations side, we're updating our weaking tile removal assistance program, and we'll have an update for you in a month or so on how we're making out and how to make it more attractive to get better uptake on that program. We're going to continue our annual sewer flushing program and close TV inspection so we understand how our system is working and deal with problems before they become problems. We're going to be reviewing the process of our emergency bypass pumping policy. That should be available in about 3 or 4 months, once we have some better input on best practices around the region and around the province. And we're also going to be looking at a new sewer use bylaw, which will help us give us some teeth to deal with the issues that we have with respect to debris, grease, oils, and those types of non-sewage related materials getting into our sewer system. So on the whole, we're doing a really good job, I think, in trying to address this problem. We're not out of the water yet, but we are going to need to continue on to make sure that we can reduce the amount of basement flooding we're experiencing and not have to create development freezes. The city's wet weather flow strategy is going to take time and money, and by removing the excess wet weather flow that gets into the sanitary sewer, that creates capacity for new development to utilize and then avoids or prevents us from having to prematurely replace some of this infrastructure in the ground, which is very costly. And so the strategy that we are looking at moving forward is to, when we review our development charge background study, we're going to ask the development community to help us with our wet weather flow problem by including a portion of development charges, the proceeds to go towards the cost of our wet weather flow projects. Projects like storage and sewer diversions and those types of options. I guess in conclusion then, we're doing a good job. We need to stay the course. We need to commit the funding that we have in the past both to operations and capital. And there's no need at this point in time for a development freeze. We'll monitor each application on a case-by-case basis. And if there are concerns, we'll certainly make those known to you as part of the planning report.
Very good, thank you. Councilor Morocco, then Thompson.
I'll make a motion to accept the report, but I just wanted one quick question, Mr. Holman. The new charges that you're talking about that you're going to bill builders, was that included in the development that's already in Chippewa now? I know it's in my backyard, but just wondered if they actually paid any additional fees towards that fund you're talking about, the wet water.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, I believe there are 2 projects that are wet weather related that are in our current development charge background study. But we're going to need to update that study and top it up as well.
Okay. Will we find out how much money actually is collected in addition to what would have never been collected? I guess that's what I'm trying to figure out too. What?
I guess we could do some type of calculation. I mean, the bylaw that we have now was prepared in 2009. So at that time, we were not predicting a large amount of development.
It's just nice to have a record show that we're getting some additional money from there and it's going towards the wet fund.
Okay.
That'd be great. Anyway, I'll make a motion to accept the report.
Okay, motion by Councilor Morocco. Do you have a seconder on that? Okay, Councilor Thompson?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's actually a very good report, and finally we're moving along with the storage tanks to solve the concern with respect to flooding. But it was interesting to note in the report when we had the last big storm, Sandy came through, there were 20 reported sanitary sewer backups and 16 storm sewer backups, 0 in Chippewa. And that's probably because of the emergency bypass pumping, which works. We're being criticized over the years for the amount that's being pumped in, and the storage tanks are going to eventually resolve part of that problem. Whether it'll ever be totally solved, I'm not really sure, because that's a lot of gallonage that's pumped out there. But the storage tanks are our method of trying to resolve that problem. So I like the whole idea, but somebody brought to my attention some time ago that I was concerned about the amount of bypass areas that we have in this city, and they gave me a report that indicated that the city of Niagara Falls, with the emergency bypass outlets, was substantially less than a lot of the other communities, particularly St. Catharines. I think we had like 8 or 10, most of them had 16, 18 more. Is that an accurate statement?
Mr. Mayor, I think that's pretty close. I mean, the ones that have the bypasses have older combined sewer systems and older sewers, so it would be Welland, St. Catharines that have that amount.
Yeah. Okay, that was an interesting situation. Thank you.
And you're seconding the...
Yes.
Yeah, okay. I've got Councilor Pietrangelo and Wayne.
Yeah, thank you, Worship. I really found the report interesting. It's very nice that it's coming forward and that we're moving forward with the combined sewer overflow tanks. I did have a couple questions, actually. I like the map that Mr. Holman showed. One of the questions I was going to ask for was a map showing the pumping stations that exist in Chippewa. So from the map, I gather that there's 4 pumping stations in Chippewa.
There's one permanent pumping station. That's the low lift pumping station, the round dot.
Okay.
Those other red dots are manholes that we locate our staff to during wet weather events. We check the measurement in the manhole, and when it reaches a certain elevation, we commence emergency bypass pumping. And in some cases, it goes directly into the natural environment. In other cases, it's directed into an adjacent storm sewer.
Okay. And Gunning and Mears, then? That would be a new one going in?
Gunning and Mears is an existing station.
That's what I
And
thought.
what it does is we direct the high volume of sewage into a storage facility, but we put it back into the sanitary sewer once the peak is gone through. So it's a timing thing. It's not discharged into the natural environment or a storm sewer. We're just basically taking that large flush of sewage that comes through during a peak storm, intense storm, storing it, and then releasing it back into the system. But we have some work that we've included in this year's capital budget. I'm sorry, I should have listed that one as well. That would help us monitor that more effectively.
Okay, and I know you talked about the region making upgrades to the low lift pumping station. It didn't actually say what the upgrades were, and it's pretty evident that that's where the bottleneck happens. Whether or not the main that leads from the low lift pumping station just isn't large enough to carry the flows that come in, or whether or not the pumps that we have just can't handle the flows and push them through the main. I'm not too sure. Could you give us some insight as to what the upgrades in the low lift pumping station are?
Yeah, and I'm sorry I don't have the numbers here, but I can tell you that the certificate of approval, which outlines the maximum capacity of any pump station, sets the quantity of sewage that can be pumped from that station. And what happened is when the original pumps were put in, they were not maximized, so there's still some room for upgrading. And the region's concern was, at the time, they didn't want to pass the high volume of flows onto the next pump station and have an overflow there. But recently what's happened with the creation of the environmental impact zone near our water intake, it's created a real sensitive area along that section of the Welland River. And so the rationale is, well, look, if there's going to be an overflow at a pumping station, probably the high lift pump station, which is located over Oakwood Drive, that would discharge into the hydro canal, would be more acceptable from a fisheries and from a health perspective. And as you know, we spent some money trying to improve our access to the waterfront there, and so it's not a good situation for us to encourage. There is no overflow at the low lift pump station, and that's really part of our problem, is that it backs up into the gravity system. The problem is, if we don't do the emergency bypass pumping, the next lowest spot will be some of the basements, and we'll get complaints. So it's kind of a trade-off, if you will, Councillor, that if we're going to have bypasses into the natural environment, if we have to do it at a location that's going to have the least amount of impact.
Okay, and I'm happy to hear that it's the actual pumps that weren't at capacity as opposed to the force main, because the force main would be, I'm sure, a lot costlier to replace than the pumps would be to upgrade. The other question I had was in regards to the capacity of the tanks that we're putting in, whether or not you feel it will solve, I guess, all or most of our overflow problems out there. I noticed that from the data you gave us from the report, the largest single overflow that I could find was 11,000 cubic meters back in 2010. That was one single event. The holding tanks that the report identifies add up to just under 6,000 cubic meters. So I don't know the capacity that the upgrade at the low lift plant is going to be able to increase, I guess, in terms of volume. And I guess my question to staff then was, are you comfortable with the combined sewer overflow tanks as well as the upgrades at the gunning mirrors and the low lift pumping station to pretty much eliminate any overflow problems that we have out there?
Councillor, I'd love to give you guarantees, but I think based on the information that we have before us and our experience with how the system works, that it's a reasonable guess as to what size we should make these. You have to understand too that we're also, at the same time, we're trying to dry up our system through our RAP program and through capital improvements. So we're going to be making some progress at the top end of the system by redirecting those flows. So ideally, and I guess realistically, or in a practical sense, the storage tanks should at some point in the future be redundant because we've taken all the wet weather flows out of our system. In essence, it's fairly good insurance for us to mitigate the risk in the short term. And I think the size that we've come up with, and the consultants in the region and the MOE have reviewed, will give us the best level of protection.
Okay. Well, thank you, Your Worship. I appreciate the information, and I'm sure that we're going to get more updates as time goes on.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Wing.
Yes, I continue to be concerned about pumping into the natural environment, especially in a recreational waterfront area. The attachment noted that there's been numerous concerns raised by residents about the ability of the system to accommodate additional sewer flows as the result of new or intensified development. Now, under development proposals on page 3, there's a discussion about if any developments to proceed to occupancy prior to the implementation of these holding tanks. The proponent will have to demonstrate that the development won't contribute flows in excess of the currently experienced wet weather flows, which I assume are the stormwater flows. But even if you keep that constant, if there's new development and occupancy, you're going to have extra sewage flows. So I'm just wondering, are we going to be able to handle that in the system and avoid these releases into the environment?
Mr. Holman?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, Councillor Wing. This is kind of what I'm suggesting with our approach towards reviewing development applications. You may recall the boathouse application, where we had assumed that there's already going to be a certain amount of dry weather flow going into the system. So you'll have to kind of deduct that from the dry weather flow that's going to come from the new development. The fact that it's new construction and properly inspected, watertight, and then what we did in that case was we determined that there was only capacity for a certain number of units, which forced them to phase their project to match that particular number. Now, in a lot of cases, the larger developments, they take a number of years anyways. And because we have this capital project, it's going to be commencing construction later this year and be completed by probably next summer, or this time next year. We'll be using that to trade off capacity at the bottom end of the system for capacity at the top end of the system. So it's something we kind of measure and monitor on a case-by-case basis. In some cases, if there were a large-scale development that was plugged into the system at the wrong location, we would comment accordingly in the development application. So it's not something we want to say that there's a problem across the city. We'd be happy to review it just on a site-specific basis.
Okay, so dry weather flows are then a euphemism for sewage, raw sewage, and if we get enough of the weeping tiles disconnected from the system in the Chippewa area, then we can create the capacity to accept more dry weather flow into that system. Am I understanding that correctly then?
That's correct. In addition to that, we'll be getting development charges from that project that we'll be able to allocate towards the next wet weather flow project.
Okay. Councillor Gates.
Yeah, Jeff, I really appreciate the presentation, but when I take a look at 2013-08 and 2012-37, I think it's really clear that because in your report you talk about the DC charges and the study that we've been taking for quite a while now, and hopefully it gets done relatively quickly. But if you take a look at all your stuff here, it talks about allow future development to proceed without impact, new and intensified development in Chippewa, future development impacts, future development limits impacts. It talks through the whole report, and then on 2012-13, again, it talks about result of new and intensified development. And then when you take a look at the cost, it is substantial. We're talking lots of millions of dollars here, and I would have to think that with the region paying 50%, I'd like to find out how much do you think we'll be able to recover out of development charges for implementing what your report is saying. You said that you think you can charge the max. I'd like to know what the max is on what you think you can charge. But I think the sooner we get the DC charges completed, the better I think the council will have the opportunity to decide on how much money it's going to cost the residents of Niagara Falls to improve in Chippewa.
Okay. Any other comments or questions of council? Okay, we do have a motion. Is that right? Okay, all right. We had 20 minutes ago. All right, we will call the vote then. All those in favor? Okay, and that's unanimous. Thank you very much, Mr. Holman. Moving along to RNC 2013-10, Prince Edward Park. To speak to this, Ms. Moldenhauer? Okay. Thank you.
All right, we just wanted to give you a quick overview of the neighborhood meeting that took place last week, Monday, May 6th at Prince Edward Park. At the meeting, we had approximately 46 people attend, and it was a great turnout. A number of the residents, of course, have lived in that area for many years. They take great pride in their neighborhood, and they were very pleased to hear that the park would remain during the development, but that there would be changes proposed for that. So at the meeting, the developer overviewed their project and proposed the land exchange. Staff and the residents discussed park improvements, and I'll get into that at the next slides. The land exchange, and with the report, attachment number 1, shows the actual diagram with the dimensions, but I wanted to show you the picture. The parcel A is currently owned by the developer, and it's a strip of land that does run from the road along the fence. Parcel B, the next slide, this is actually city-owned. Right now, of course, it is parkland. There are 2 benches there, and there are 2 trees. The developer has agreed that they would relocate the 2 benches, and they would also attempt to transplant the 2 trees. If the 2 trees could not be transplanted, they would plant up to 4 new trees. We did discuss the land exchange with the residents. The residents did not oppose the land exchange, but they did have a lot of comments for staff about the park and what development they would like to see at the park. This is the current playground at the park. With the Municipal Works Playground Replacement Program, this playground here is due to be replaced in 2015. But the residents asked if that could be moved up to 2014. They were saying, you know, they're going to be going through a lot with the development, and they would appreciate the playground being replaced sooner than later. They would like to see a larger playground. They talked about having a rubberized playground surface similar to the playground at McBain. We heard a lot of complaints about the sand, so they definitely do not want sand there. They would like the playground to be located probably in the central area of the park, because right now there's a lot of open space at the park. They were looking for additional walkways. Right now you can see there's a lot of green space at the park. There's a slope, and we did have some people attend the meeting that did have mobility issues, and it was actually really difficult for them to get into the park. So we would also like to see nice kind of accessible walkways to guide people through the park, more benches, and more trees as well. We heard a lot from the residents about what they did not want to see at their park. They were very concerned about basketball courts. They were just concerned about the noise level. They were concerned about splash pads, for example, that this may bring, you know, more people driving to the park, so then there could also be more traffic on the roadway. But they really like their park. They like going to their park after dinner with their children or their grandchildren, but they want to see it improved. So we heard loud and clear that they want their playground, but they want it to be better.
But not too good.
But not too good, yeah. That's right. Over the years, too, I'm sure people can remember, we've had, at one point in time, there was a baseball diamond there. There had been a soccer pitch, but again, they're happier more kind of with a passive park than an active park. So with the report that we're presenting to you tonight, recommendation number 1 was just to proceed with the land exchange, because again, we do not hear any opposition from the residents. Recommendation number 2, the developer is offering $15,000. The land exchange, there's, if you look on attachment number 1, you can see there's a small difference with the 2 pieces of land, and that's why they are proposing the $15,000. And the staff prepare park development plan, of course, working very closely with the neighbors, and to include this in part of the 2014 capital budget. And there was also discussion about the type of fencing that should be included with the development in the park. And based on our park standards, of course, we're recommending a chain link fence rather than a wooden fence that would be difficult to see through and really to monitor the safety and the security of the park.
Okay, we've got Councillor Iononi and Kerrio.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Myself and Councillor Bates were the 2 councillors who were there through the meeting, and I think the only thing we didn't hear was that anybody opposed the land swap. The residents had an opportunity to vent. The developer heard them. The developer said, I will make your park better. Very clearly understood that the basketball court was out. As a matter of fact, he said, please tell them I will donate more, which is in the report, to make the park exactly what it is they want. I mean, and he's done that in each development he's done throughout the community, and he told them, I've given you my word and you will have the park that you're looking for. So I'd like to make a motion to move the recommendation and just say it was a very educational time out there. The mobility issues were very apparent when we had a number of seniors who could not get down into the park to actually participate in the meeting, so we kind of had to move the meeting up to them. So I'd like to move the application.
Okay, moved by Councillor Iannone. Councillor Carrier?
Do you have a seconder?
We don't yet.
I'll second the motion. I just was wondering how we got to 15. I thought when we originally looked at this that it was going to cost $10,000. Did we do, went to $15,000?
Simply, I suggested to Mr. Vaca that council had expressed some concern about the amount, and that sweetening the pot might make the matters move more smoothly.
To that point.
Okay, well, yes?
Just that point. In amongst the conversation, Mr. Costabile said, please step forward and say, I do not mind paying that extra bit more. He had absolutely no objection to it, and asked me to please tell the neighbors that. They were quite happy to hear it. So he was quite aware that it was coming with that increase.
Councillor? Did I see another hand? Councillor Gates?
Yeah, I did attend. The only thing I wanted to ask is, it talks about in 2014 that you're looking at redoing the park. Have you got any idea of the cost of redoing the park?
The figures that we have tentatively included, it's $146,000, but that would be the playground, the bays, the walkways, benches, trees.
Okay, and to Councilor Ioannone's point, the developer did say in front of the residents that he had no problem with the extra, I think it was $5,000. I think Councilor Carrier was right. But it just shows that, we go by all the parks in the city, and a lot of times we take them for granted, but there is a big cost to redoing our parks in the city. And I think when you hear that figure of $146,000, because the first time I heard it was actually that night, and I was actually surprised because I think, maybe you can help me on this, what did we spend on Preakness? I think it was $77,000, something like that. So, you take a look at $146,000, that's a pretty big jump. So I just wanted to say that, and I did attend.
Okay, thank you very much. Is there any other comments? Yes, Councilor Morocco?
I just want to get this clear, is that the 15, sorry, Your Worship, and through this to probably Kathy Mulder or whoever wants to take the question, that we're going to receive $15,000 for the land swap. Is that correct?
15,000, yes, right.
Now, the $15,000 looks to me is that it's going to be recommended that it goes into future park redevelopment?
I'm guessing offset, is that to offset the
Correct.
146,000?
Yes. Okay, it's not going into the replacement or the moving of this park, because I have to say,
No.
I don't think that the city should be owed anything. And by the way, I just want to say the developer's doing a fabulous job. I went by there, and the way that they are actually cleaning up that environmentally friendly little issue there is really a nice job, and I'm sure that the project will be very added bonus to the community. So it's not, it's actually...
No, the current playground can remain in its location during the development.
Okay, so the developer's going to pay for moving it and putting it back over?
Moving only the two benches and the trees. Just moving that. The playground will stay where it is right now. The playground and the swings can stay. There's no issue there. It was only the two benches and the two trees.
Okay.
And there will, of course, be construction fence along there, and that was a question that was asked as well, just the security of the park.
Okay. Yeah, I think I am a little surprised at $146,000 too. So, Councillor Gates, I think I was a little shocked at that price as well. All right, thank you.
Okay, thank you, Councillor. Are there any other comments? Would the mover and the seconder also be including the resolution? There's a resolution? Yes. Yes? Okay. So that's included, so we'll call the vote. All those in favor? Okay, and that's unanimous. Thank you very much. Thank you, Ms. Moldenauer. All right, we are 5 minutes early. Are we okay to move on to the regular?
Here, you just ask if they're here.
Okay. Boys and Girls Club, we're ready to go. We're 5 minutes early. Okay, we're going to get started with the regular presentation deputation part of the council meeting. We've got the Boys and Girls Club here, and Amanda Brait, Director of Fund Development, is going to talk to council about some upcoming fundraising, I'm guessing.
Yes, I am. Thank you.
Welcome.
So Mayor Diodati, members of council, city staff, and members of the public, my name is Amanda Brait, and I'm the Director of Fund Development for the Boys and Girls Club of Niagara. I would like to thank you for the opportunity to come and speak to you today regarding our upcoming Race for Kids, Capital One Race for Kids presented by SciTech. For many years, the Boys and Girls Club programs have depended on fundraising dollars to keep the Kids Zone and Teen Zone program operating across 9 municipalities. These signature programs are our quality after-school programs. We send buses out after school to pick them up near their homes, bring them to 12 different locations across the 9 municipalities. We then feed them supper, provide qualified and experienced staff to run activities that support healthy, physical, mental, educational, and social development, and then we drive them home. On average, we do that 3 times per week for the entire school year for only $20 a year. This is only possible with the support of the community and caring businesses and groups, and the funds raised through fundraising initiatives such as the Race for Kids. In 2012, the Boys and Girls Club Board, Foundation, and staff underwent a fund development review and decided to focus on 3 large fundraising events, Race for Kids being the largest of the 3. The Boys and Girls Club of Niagara is pleased to be one of the 22 clubs across Canada participating and hosting this adventurous event. Race for Kids is unique in that it allows anyone to participate regardless of their ability. There's no specific skill set required, as our other events have required in the past, such as golf and curling. The only requirement is the ability to work together with their team members to have fun, completing tasks while looking and feeling slightly ridiculous. So Capital One Race for Kids, presented by SciTech, is a return to the best adventures of childhood, embracing the carefree days of being a kid, and a bonding experience for participants as they challenge their skills while raising funds for boys and girls to have the same opportunity. This event allows the sophistication of registration and pledges to be collected directly online and has the ability to process official tax receipts at the click of a button. So how does this event work? Teams of 4 will compete in 10 themed challenging checkpoints in a race to the finish line. Checkpoints will be designed to incorporate activities that focus the mind and challenge the body. Challenges are not based on athletic expertise or mental superiority. Rather, they're designed for fun and building teamwork. Think of it as the perfect mix between The Amazing Race and Minute to Win It. Each team will be provided with 10 clues, 1 for each checkpoint, to identify the location of their checkpoint. Once the team has figured out the clues, the team will use a map to determine their route between all of the checkpoints. After the successful completion of each checkpoint, the teams will receive a token with a letter on it. As a final challenge, each team must unscramble the letters on the tokens correctly to get to the finish line first. In addition to first place prize, there will also be prizes awarded for the best costume, and also the top individual pledge will receive 2 flights for 2 from WestJet. Childcare will be provided for children 3 to 12 for any participants requiring care. Children will enjoy swimming, crafts, and challenges all of their own. And this will all take place in our Niagara Falls facility. So why participate in Race for Kids? Our approach offers children and youth what they need the most: relationships with positive role models from adults and peers, structure and safety, access to a diverse range of programs that include recreation, play, and expression, an opportunity for acquiring positive behaviors, self-esteem, and hope for the future. We work hard to speak out on behalf of children, youth, and their families to reduce disadvantage, enhance their lives, and enable their voices and ideas to be heard. By participating in this year's Race for Kids, you will be an important part of helping our club move forward. Funds raised will go directly back into the Niagara region community so that we can continue offering the types of programs that our young people need the most. I encourage everyone today to visit www.raceforkids.ca to learn more and to be a part of making Niagara's community a better place for our children and youth. If you're unable to participate, I encourage you to consider going online to pledge someone who is currently signed up. I would like to thank you for your time this evening, because this is a new event for us, and so any opportunity to come out and educate the public about this is greatly appreciated. And at this time, with permission, I'd like to present a Race for Kids welcome bag to yourself, Mayor Diodati.
Sure, absolutely. Do you have any questions or comments for Amanda? Council's happy to hear that you don't need athletic or mental prowess, so we do definitely apply you. That's great. All right,
Thank you.
oh, sorry,
Thank you
Amanda,
so
thank you,
much.
thank you very much.
Thank you.
So here we go, folks. Remember,
Thank you.
sign up, and what was that website again?
www.raceforkids.ca, and you can slash Niagara and come right to the Niagara site. So
raceforkids.ca/Niagara.
that's right.
Okay,
Thank
that's
you.
great. Thank you very much, Amanda. Thank you. All right, well, I'll stay up here. The next part of our meeting, of our presentation, I understand we've got a couple of guests here from Sobeys. Dave Beaton, Corey Barkman, if you would come forward. And if you would, actually, okay, you're gonna start from there, okay, start from there.
I was just going to start from there, Mayor Jim.
And then we're gonna bring you forward for a picture, if that's okay.
Great.
And a presentation. So welcome to council. Dave, you're the store manager of the Sobeys store on Portage Road.
Yes.
And Corey is one of your dedicated.
Number one grocery clerk.
Number one grocery clerk, there you go, okay.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Number one cashier.
Number one male grocery clerk.
So, yeah, we just wanted to talk about our contest that we won. A couple of years ago, Kraft started with Hockeyville, and all the communities across Canada would do something that would promote for the community some funds that Kraft would give for the local hockey. So with the strike this year in hockey, they decided to change it, and they called the promotion Hockey Lives On. So part of the promotion was for us to do a display, and this is pictures here of the display at our store. And we also had to submit in 50 words or less, why our store should win, a celebration for the community. So Sobeys is a Canadian family. The business started in 1907, and one of our core values is to proudly serve our communities. Niagara Falls Sobeys is passionate about this value. And Corey, a grocery clerk who has number 2 status, gives back to the community by volunteering for a number of community organizations, including local minor hockey as well as the Niagara Falls Junior B team. So we submitted that. We also submitted the pictures, and we had some help from our Kraft representative Frank Edadormi, Nancy Warren from Mondelez, Mo McFadden and Norm Cavazin, they're Mosaic merchandisers. My grocery manager couldn't make it this evening, Brandon Van Heif, and then Corey and the rest of our team built the displays. And in March, they voted us out of Ontario, and we won $5,000 that can go towards a skating party for the winning community arena. So I've met with Rob McDonald, and we're going to look at really making a nice event for the people of Niagara Falls. Sobeys head office is going to be involved also to come to the event. We're looking at having music, bands, food, drinks, and free skating. And we're looking at trying to do it over like a weekend, do it a Friday night with a Junior B game, Saturday a skating event, and Sunday. And we're going to also do the whole province of Ontario for Sobeys employees to invite them to Niagara Falls to come on out to this event and maybe stay the night, maybe go to the casino, maybe have a little weekend away for the family. So we're really proud of winning this. This was something that sort of puts us in our business at an elite status, so we're really proud of it. And once the check is processed, then we'll do a presentation at the store, and it'll go towards the Gale Center.
Well done. Now tell us, out of how many stores were you competing against? Which area geographically?
I couldn't tell you how many. It was right across Ontario.
So right across, and there were how many winners were chosen?
6.
So 6 across Ontario.
Yeah.
Pretty amazing.
Yeah, we were very happy, and that was done just after Christmas time. So it just popped. It looked really good in the store, and we sold lots of product from it. And just to get recognized for it is a great thing for us. So.
Well, if you'd come forward, there's a little doorway
Okay.
over there, and we've got a little presentation as a small token of our appreciation. Bigger shirt for you, Dave.
Well,
Yeah, that's right. And for you, Corey. And we're going to do, come on together here. Oh, that's me. Sorry to give that to you. So we'll take a picture. Corey. Had that pretty close up, can you see it? Get it? On behalf of Niagara Falls City Council, and obviously we're representatives of the city, we're very proud of you, and also my background too, which is kind of interesting. What's that? Oh, yeah. The other part that I'm very proud of is I also used to serve as a steward one time. I've known Dave for a long time. Back when I was in the grocery business, I used to own a bakery distribution company, sweet goods. My wife would say, from your lips to your hips. That's what I used to put in all the stores. And I used to set up these exact same displays. True story, actually. And I just recently came across it. It was it was a Valentine's display. And I convinced my nephew at the time, who was about 6 years old, to go in white, long underwear and a pair of wings and stand in front of a display. And so I recently posted him. He hates me to this day because of that. Yeah. But I won the contest, so it was well worth it. It was a trip to Vegas, actually. But on behalf of Niagara Falls City Council, I'm going to say you did an outstanding job. You represented us well. You're the best of the best, and because of your efforts, everyone is going to have a huge benefit at the Gale Center. We want to say thank you very much. Thank you. All right, thanks very much, fellas.
Yeah, buddy.
Okay, moving along to the planning matters. We've got our next item up, and I would ask our city clerk to introduce that item on the agenda.
Your worship, a public meeting is now being convened to consider a proposed amendment to the city zoning bylaw to permit a proposed semi-detached dwelling located former Jones Street Road allowance, east side of Montrose Road, south of Delta Drive. Notice was given by first-class mail in accordance with the Planning Act on Friday, April 12, 2013, and by posting a sign on the property in question. Anyone who wants notice of the passage of the zoning bylaw amendment to participate in any site plan process, if applicable, or preserve their opportunity to appeal to the Ontario Municipal Board shall leave their name on the sign-in sheets outside the council chambers.
Thank you very much, Mr. Arafita. Mr. Hurlovich, could you please explain the purpose and reason for the proposed bylaw amendment?
Thank you, Your Worship. The excuse me. This first application involves a former road allowance on the east side of Montrose Road, and we're going to get the slides up in a second. I don't have. Oh, we don't have any slides, so we're going to. I don't know how this comes to be, but in any event, anyway, the property is located on the east side of Montrose Road. South of Delta, and basically in close proximity to the Queen Elizabeth Way. The lands to the north and to the west of this property include mostly single family and a commercial convenience store. The lands to the east of this property are developed with semi-detached houses. The lot itself has a lot area of 9,570 square feet. As I said, it's a former road allowance. It was declared surplus by the city in 2009. It was bought by the applicant. The land is currently zoned R1D. He's requesting an R2 zone with special provisions for the side yard setbacks and for the size of the driveway on the property. So the property itself, what they're looking for is to, where the bylaw requires a 2.4 meter wide side yard where there's no garage attached to the building, they're requesting a 2.1 meter wide driveway on the north side and a 1.2 meter wide driveway on the south side. A 1.2 meter side yard would be the standard side yard setback if there was a garage. What they're proposing is actually creating 2 parking spaces in front of the building, so the driveway would have an 11 meter width, whereas the bylaw would require or provide a maximum of 10 meters, so an additional 1 meter wide. That way they can fit 2 cars in front of each of the semi-detached units. This affects the area that's actually covered by driveway, so we're going to increase the amount of front yard that's covered by driveway from 50% to 55%. So those are kind of the technical side of the details. The application does comply with the regions and the provincial growth plan initiatives, represents a more efficient use of urban land, and it represents a opportunity to reach some of the intensification targets the province has set. The lands are designated in the official plan as residential, which includes semi-detached and duplex dwellings, so therefore the use is permitted by the OP. The use also complies with the policies with respect to a compatible mix of housing units. The change from R1D to R2 is the exact same zone as the zone to the east of these properties, so it's compatible with that zone. And the adjustments in the zone provisions are relatively minor in order to deal with that parking requirement, as I stated earlier. There's one other aspect to this site, and that is there is a drainage swale through the middle of the property, and the proponent would be putting that drainage into a pipe. So it would be a catch basin at the east side of this property, and it would come along the north boundary of the lot, and it would connect with the storm drain on Montrose Road. And so there would be an easement taken over that storm drain, which drains the properties to the west, which would be Coon Crescent. So planning staff is recommending approval of the application. So they're recommending that the property be rezoned from single family to the residential two-family zone with the site-specific provisions for the side yards and for the driveway. Those are the highlights.
Thank you very much, Mr. Hurlovich. Are there any questions of council for our Director of Planning? Seeing none, members of the public are advised that failure to make an oral or written submission at this public meeting will result in the Ontario Municipal Board dismissing any referral that it receives. Failure to sign the sign-in sheet will result in staff rejecting an appeal as per section 3419 of the Planning Act. Council will now hear from anyone other than the applicant who wishes to speak to the proposed bylaw amendment. Is there anyone here other than the applicant? Okay, sir, you can step forward if you want to come to the microphone here so we can hear you.
Well, you could hear me without going there.
If you could just state your name and your address, please.
My name's Gary Stewart. I own the property at 6548 Montrose Road, which is right next door to the adjacent property that wants to be built on.
Okay.
And I'm opposed to it for several reasons. One of them is, as the gentleman just said, he wants to build a double house on a single lot property that all the other houses up that street are single houses. The other reason I'm opposed to it is he wants to have two driveways, and as he mentioned, for 2 cars. So now you have 4 cars in that property. And if you look where the property is, almost right across the street and to the left is Badger Road. And it's hard enough now to get out of the street onto Montrose when traffic's going up Montrose Road and traffic on Badger. So now he wants to have a piece of property that could have up to 4 cars on it that you now have to fight with them or whatever to get out. So that's congested more traffic. The other thing I don't like is with all these proposed swales and leeway on the meter, on the leeways and that's on my side of the property, so that's why I'm concerned. The house on the other side on Montrose doesn't seem to be affected too much by anything, so.
So you're directly to the north of this property?
Yep.
Right beside it? Okay.
Yep.
Any questions of Mr. Stewart from council? Okay. All right. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else other than the applicant? Okay. Seeing none. Council now hear from the applicant. Welcome, Mr. Diverson.
Thank you very much and welcome. And hello to everybody. Nice to see everybody again. I'm representing Mr. Michael Brooks this evening on this particular application. Mr. Brooks bought this property from the city a while back, and it's an extra large lot located on Montrose Road. On the sketch plan provided with the report, you can see the layout of the lot. It's actually 66 feet wide. Most semi-detached lots are 60, so it's a wider lot, and it's actually a deeper lot. So in terms of meeting it not only meets but exceeds your standard lot frontage and lot depth requirements of the R2 zone. If you look at the back of the property, Coon Crescent is all semi-detached dwellings. This particular development will conform and blend in with the semi-detached configuration of those lots behind. It is a large lot, and the actual design of the house is custom made for this particular lot. Mr. Brooks has had a designer actually design this building to fit into the lot appropriately. The dimensions that we're asking for relief on are minor dimensions. You'll notice that the site plan shows the proposed building. The notion of providing two parking spots in parallel rather than in tandem provides for an ease of ingress and egress without jockeying the cars around in and out of a driveway. Though that's the particular reason for that. As I say, the house is custom designed for the particular lot. The lot is actually larger, and the engineering department required a swale to be put along the side of the property. There's currently a swale right through the middle of the property at the present time, and that would make the property unbuildable. So through consultation with your engineering department, we're going to provide a catch basin and a swale, and the stormwater will drain along the north side to the Montrose Road outlet. Those are my comments this evening. It does make good planning sense, conforms with your official plan, and is recommended by your staff. We would appreciate your staff recommendation. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Any questions of Mr. Diverson? Yes, Councilor Carrier.
Just how long ago did the applicant purchase the property?
About a year ago?
Not quite a year.
Not quite a year. Approximately a year ago, they're saying. Okay. Yes, Councilor Gates.
So you bought the property from the city about a year ago?
Yes, that's correct.
Could you tell me what you paid for it?
Does it matter?
Does to me. I asked the question. I wouldn't ask it.
Okay, I do not know the answer to that question.
Does anybody know? Seen it was purchased from the city?
I didn't buy it from the city.
Mr. Beeman, could we get comment? Is that something that...
No, I wouldn't be able to answer that off the top of my head.
Okay, no. Is that a question that is that, are we okay to...
It's a question that they can ask. It's, and certainly it's public information. We can find out for
Well, it is
council.
public information, and I think it's a
of my
fair
head.
question, and I think that I wouldn't ask if it wasn't a fair question. You're purchasing it from the city. I'd just like to know how much you got it for, that's all.
I'm just curious, are you sure you bought this from the city? But not within the last year?
We could ask our real estate agent.
Yeah, no, just this looks to me like it was one of the properties that was sold at the auction. That's more than a year ago.
So that would have been a lot longer than a year ago.
That's what I'm saying.
Have we done one with an auction? I think the last one was Doug Emilton, wasn't it?
Yeah, that's the only
That would have
auction
been a lot
we've
longer
ever
than a year,
Yeah.
for sure. But, okay, so you don't have that information, that's fine, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions of council? Okay, seeing none. All right, thank you very much. Okay, well, the public meeting with respect to the zoning bylaw amendment is now concluded. We've got a motion by Councilor Iannoni to move the recommendation. Looking for a second. Second, Councilor Wing. Is there any discussion to the motion? Call the vote. All those in favor? Opposed? Okay, let's do that again. All those in favor first. All those in favor. Okay, and hold on a second, guys. I need your hands up. All those in favor? I got it. Okay, we got it. And opposed? Okay, and 3 opposed. Okay, that motion passes and it is approved. Okay, thank you very much for coming. Appreciate it. Thank you. Okay, now on to Councillor Thompson's favorite part of the meeting. I'll be quick. I'll read quick, Councillor. Okay, first, some obituaries. One that we'd like to make reference to is on the passing of Steve Lafferty, uncle of Councillor Peter Angelo. Pass our condolences along to Councillor Peter Angelo and his family. Special announcement, there was a retirement recently of Ray Miller, and we wish Ray well after many, many years here at the city. And we had a cake for Ray last week, so we wish him well. What's happened in the last little bit here? Grand opening of the new LCBO store on Portage Road, new and enhanced next to the Sobeys. Outstanding store, so it's a lot of great options in the north end of the city. And there will be another new one being built in the south end of the city down by the Walmart, so that's going to be taking place as well. So both ends of the city will get serviced by these new LCBO stores. Earth Week events. We had Earth Week, Arbor Day at John Allen Park. Councillor Gates attended with me. Then Sacred Heart had a school planting day for trees. And then there was Community Sweep Day at Mick and Angelo's. Councillor Peter Angelo and Councillor Gates attended and helped out as well. At Coronation Center, we had the annual volunteer recognition event. Kemp Financial Group opened up on Portage Road at Five Corners. Councillor Carrio was with me in attendance. Councillor Morocco joined me, and as we went to Richmond Hill for the Canada-China Travel Forum, where we received some recognition. Niagara Falls Tourism was recognized with some developments in the Chinese market. National Day of Mourning, Councillor Gates and Morocco joined me in front of City Hall as we were here for that. Steps for Life for families who suffered workplace tragedy took place in Chippewa Kingsbridge Park. Councillor Gates was there with me as well. Father Tony McNamara Athletic Center, St. Mike's High School, has now dedicated Mr. Peter Angelo's school, the gymnasium, after Father McNamara, and I'm happy to report he's a Habs fan, so good on him. Food Basics opening and Employee Appreciation Night, the new one, the Metro, which was an A&P before that on Montrose Road. There was a contest between myself and MPP Crater, and we had a grocery list. We had to see who could fill the grocery list first, and unfair advantage. I spent a lot of years in a grocery store with my past business, and I shop at do the shopping, so we kicked his butt. But all the food was donated to Project Share, which was great. Thank you, Councillor Gates, for being there as well. Of interest, last Saturday, International Karate Federation had their conference here in Niagara Falls. And I was asked if I'd bring greetings to the conference, which I always do, and I was happy to do. They asked if I'd participate in a little bit of a demonstration, which I happily agreed to do. And then I got a little bit worried as they came into the office and measured me up for a gi. I said, why do I need to wear a gi? And they said, well, that's going to be for the challenge you have with the master. So as the day got closer and the radio station started to call, I realized what they were referring to. We had a 10th degree black belt from Japan in Niagara Falls, 74-year-old. So of course, Hits FM were the first ones on the bandwagon to start. They start off with, first of all, why are you picking on a senior citizen? And they said, and you got nowhere to go but down, because the next thing we're going to say is, why'd you get your butt kicked by a senior citizen? And to see this guy, this little guy from Japan, the backs of his hands were very calcified and full of calluses from hitting stones every day. The guy was very fit, very healthy, and we had a little bit of a demonstration, so I wasn't really in full battle with the guy at all. And I had all my 3 kids with me, and of course my 6-year-old son, Jimmy, was very excited to see that I was able to defend myself and win the battle, and they presented me with a ceremonious black belt. So now my son thinks I'm a ninja, and I am. And I have a black belt. I said, no, son, actually, I don't have. Yeah, Dad, I watched you. You fought him. You won. You're a black belt. So my son thinks I'm, pardon me?
Black belt eating.
I'm sorry? Eating. Yeah, no. That's Councillor Peter Angelo has the black belt in eating. But so anyway, my son thinks now I'm a hero. I walk on water, and I'm 10 foot tall. So good. That's the way it should be. That's right. And it was a lot of fun, actually. Niagara Art and Craft Exhibit had their grand opening on Queen Street, and Councillor Peter Angelo was there for that opening as well. March of Dimes had their walk and roll event at Niagara Square. The Junior C Riverhawks had their annual spring dinner, and Councillors Peter Angelo, Morocco, Carrio, and Gates were all there for the feast. Good to see everybody out for the event, supporting our Cs. Our Bikers' Rights Organization had their motorcycle run at Kingsbridge Park, where they raised funds for kids. CrossFit Queenston Heights had their grand opening on Montrose Road, and Councillor Pietrangelo joined me there. Then there was CrossFit 905, which is one of our firefighters, Mike Halley, celebrated his first year anniversary, and they're at the old NFCVI. It's amazing to see these guys in incredible shape. Their goal there was to, within an hour, lift 250,000 pounds, and they did over 300,000 pounds. None of them could walk afterwards. They all needed calves and lots of aspirin, but it was a good event to see, and they raised money for MS. Is that? Oh, sorry, thought I heard something over there. Niagara Falls MS Walk, speaking of that, was at the Chippewa Arena. Councillor Pietrangelo was there, as he is every year. And we walked that. We did the 5K. It was a nice day, beautiful day for a walk. Zumba fitness class in support of Nick Roma was at Club Italia last Sunday. McCappy Day. A lot of councillors joined McCappy Day. I know Councillor Gates had a burger with us too, as we were there helping out for Ronald McDonald House. Riverbrink Art Museum had their opening reception commemorating the second year of the War of 1812. Exciting to watch the annual police tug of war as our Niagara Regional Police took on the Niagara County and Niagara Falls Police Detachment and Sheriff's Department, and we won both meetings on the bridge. It was pretty exciting to see. Niagara Concerts featured Robert Michaels. Councillor Gates, you're there as well. You've been on a lot, Councillor Gates. You've been traveling around lately here. You've been busy.
Season tickets.
Yes, you do. West Lane had their 10th anniversary AIDS Walk, and Councillor Gates was there too. Meadows of Dorchester Volunteer Appreciation Lunch. Thank you to Councillor Wing for attending on behalf of Council. Battle of the Atlantic Service. Thank you to Councillor Morocco for attending that. And this past week we also had Niagara Days at Queen's Park, where for 3 days all the Niagara Regional Councillors visit and meet with all the different ministers and deputy ministers and assistant ministers as we try to make develop relationships and bring our asks forward. Bringing up what's new, River Road Retirement Home ribbon cutting will take place Saturday, May 18th on River Road. The Relay for Life at St. Paul High School will take place next Friday, the 24th at 6 p.m. The annual Rankin Run takes place in St. Catharines at the Grantham Lions Park, 9:30 a.m., Saturday, the 25th of May. The annual ALS Lou Gehrig Walk takes place Sunday, May 26th at Chippewa Lions Park at 9 a.m. And lastly, Dobie's Florist on Victoria Avenue will be celebrating their 125th anniversary celebration. That'll be Sunday, May the 26th at 11 a.m. And in advance, we wish everyone a happy Victoria Day. Day. Moving on to communications and comments of the city clerk. First, Taps Brewing Company requesting relief from the city's noise bylaw, moved by Councillor Pietrangelo, seconded by Councillor Carrio. All those in favor? That's approved.
I move 10, and maybe we can get the highlights.
Okay. All right. Any issues with the moving of these? Okay, I'll touch on them really quick. So what we are moving is the Rotary Club Rib Fest, also relief of our noise bylaw. Celebrate Old Downtown Spring-a-licious, liquor permit, Downtown BIA requesting their annual budget, Chippewa Public Dock Committee, waiver of fees for their annual run, National Public Works Week, week of May 19th, Spina Bifida, requesting June as Spina Bifida and Hydrocephalus Awareness Month, World Ocean Day, June 1st to be declared Ocean Day and 1st to the 8th Oceans Week, Canadian Tire Jumpstart Charity, May 25th as Jumpstart Day, National Health and Fitness Day, requesting June 1st be proclaimed National Health and Fitness Day. And we have a motion. All those in favor? Okay, and that's approved. Any additional items for council's consideration, Mr. Clerk? Okay, there are none. We have the consent agenda. Okay, motion by Councillor Ioannoni and seconded by Councillor Morocco to move the consent agenda. Anybody need anything pulled? Yes, Councillor Thompson?
Don't need it pulled. I'm just the speed limits, the final report on rural roads. I had they're suggesting that the speed limits be increased. And at the same time, I had a call during the week regarding Oakwood Drive from McDonald's going south. It's a 50-mile speed limit, or 50 kilometers. And I guess it's a favorite spot for a speed trap out there, and the campground is talking about the tourists that are coming there being pulled over and given a welcome by the police with a ticket. We look at that being increased at least to 60. It's adjacent to the Queenie. There's nothing on the Queenie side. Residential is spread out. 60 kilometers there is quite reasonable. When they requested the staff to look at this, they said it's going to be like 7 weeks before they're going to be able to get out there. Is there any way we can look at this and react to it a little more quickly before the summer season?
Mr. Dren, maybe we could comment. So Oakwood going south beyond the Walmart.
Where the campground is.
Yeah, toward the Jellystone Park
Yeah.
campground. So we're looking at moving that to 60K.
Yes, we can come back within 2 to 4 weeks on that.
Good enough, thank you.
Okay. Now, yes, Councilor Pietrangelo?
Yeah, and if Mr. Dren is going to come back, I know that a resident had called before, and I passed him over to Mr. Dren about Carl Road, and it would be north of, I guess, Mount Carmel Boulevard. So if he wants to include that one in the motion as well.
Okay. Is there any other issues of the consent agenda?
Or are you making that a motion?
Yeah, do you want to include this in the full, or do you prefer a separate motion? Okay, so why don't we do, well, let's first move the consent agenda, then we'll deal with that right after. So we do have a motion and a seconder for the consent agenda. Okay, call the vote. All those in favor? Okay, and then we've got a motion by Councillor Thompson, second by Councillor Pietrangelo, that we look at Oakwood Drive going south from McLeod and Carl Road, or Kaler Road rather, I'm sorry, north of Mount Carmel, right? And did you have a speed limit that you were suggesting? 60 and 60 is what we're looking at. Okay, everyone understand the motion? All those in favor? Okay, thank you. That's approved. Now, resolutions. We have 2 resolutions. One regarding the Springalicious. Okay, and then one about Ribfest. So we got a motion by Councillor Pietrangelo, seconded by Councillor Thompson, that we move both resolutions. All those in favor? Okay, and that's unanimous. And bylaws. Mr. Clerk, are there any additional bylaws?
Not an addition, but we included in your handouts tonight the actual sketch related to the park property, which was also in your report, so just noting that.
Okay. So we're looking for motion by Councillor Pietrangelo, seconded by Councillor Gates, to introduce the bylaws for a first reading. We'll call the vote. All those in favor? Okay.
Bylaws 2013-72 to 2013-85 read a first time.
Okay, second and third reading, moved by Councillor Pietrangelo, seconded by Councillor Maves. We'll call the vote. All those in favor? Okay, and that's unanimous.
Bylaws 2013-72 to 2013-85 read a second and third time and passed.
Okay, thank you. We're under new business. Do we have any new? Yes, Councillor Wayne?
I have a couple of requests out of Chippewa. One of them, the first is regarding harmonizing parking standards between our commercial areas. Apparently their meters run until 6 p.m. in the Cummington Square area, and they would like that brought down to 5 p.m. like in the Queen Street area, and also the parking on the side streets. They would like to have 2-hour parking on the side streets like in the Queen Street area instead of having all the side streets metered. Also, they're requesting 5 benches and 3 picnic tables be installed on the south bank of the river. It's very similar to those placed recently on the north side. They'd like to see equal opportunity for passive leisure use on both sides of Chippewa Creek. So I guess I'd be asking for a couple of staff reports back to address these requests, and that's my motion.
Okay. Mr. Clerk, you wanted to comment?
Yeah, staff's aware of those requests, and we're going to be coming back. There may be some issues regarding the river side there, depending on whose jurisdiction it is, whether it's Parks Commission property or Ontario Hydro property. So there may not be that opportunity, but we're also looking at some other possible refurbishments of Cummington Square as well. So we definitely are interested in sprucing up the area.
Yes, I also received a complaint from somebody else in Chippewa about plans for Cummington Square. There's a lot of public interest in that. Will there be public meetings on any planned changes there?
Definitely, very preliminary at this point. Mr. Larry Vaughn from GAMS, who's been involved with lighting the square over the last few years during Winter Festival Lights, has some proposals. We have initially gone to the Municipal Heritage Committee just to alert them, but it's very preliminary at this point in time, but there will definitely be public input before anything changes.
Okay, so it's only the Heritage Committee so far that's been consulted?
Well, Mr. Vaughn has consulted with a lot of people, including people who don't remember that he's consulted with them, but that's beside the point. There will definitely be full engagement with the various stakeholders.
Thank you.
Okay, so we've got a motion by Councillor Wing, seconded by Councillor Morocco, that we get a staff report back on the Cummington Square issues, the parking times, the meters, the side streets, the benches, the picnic tables, right? Okay, so we'll call the vote. All those in favor? Okay, and that's unanimous. Any other new business? Councillor Morocco, and then Carrier?
Yes, Your Worship. I just wanted to say that I would like to send our deepest sympathy to Tim Bosman's family. They did find his body today, and that was extremely disappointing. I think that everybody and everywhere we were in Ancaster and Beamsville, a number of people that I know work there said that as soon as they got the news, it was like everybody wanted to cry when they heard it. So just a word of caution that I think that people have to be very careful these days is what you do and who you do it with. So our deepest sympathy goes to the family.
Yeah. And our hats off to the police who've done an outstanding job of bringing in some of the accused very quickly and cooperating with all the different forces, Brantford, Waterloo, Hamilton, Toronto, OPP. Thank you for that, Councillor. Councillor Carrier, and then Peter Angelo.
Just a quick one. When can we expect to see that report on the cell phone usage and billing that we asked for prior or during budget time?
Mr. Harris?
Before next budget, maybe?
It's scheduled to come the first meeting in June.
See what?
First meeting in June, two council meetings.
Okay, thank you for that. Yeah, I've got Councillor Peter Angelo, and then Morocco, and then Thompson.
Thanks, Your Worship. And in our package this week, I guess through you to Mr. Dren, we had a memo about a couple issues on Mountain Road. One was the speed limit, and then the other was the bike lanes. There was a second part to the original motion that asked about the intersection of Thorlestone and Taylor. Again, there's white lines there, but they disappear. So anyone that's traveling on foot, on bike, I've even seen people on mobility devices. There's nowhere to go once that white line disappears. You're in oncoming traffic. I don't know whether or not the region can look at providing a small sidewalk there. It would be probably for about maybe 30 feet from the intersection west until the actual white line starts. But that was the other part of that motion, Your Worship, that he reported back.
Could we, yeah, Mr. Dren?
Sorry, just for clarification, that was Thorlestone and Kaler?
Thorlestone and Kaler.
Going west, down, up Thorlestone Road, right?
Exactly. Yeah, because east side you have the sidewalk.
Okay, so we're suggesting then maybe a little extension of the sidewalk, you're saying about 30 feet? Or, okay.
Sure.
So that'd be great if we could put that forward to the regional traffic. Do you need a motion for that, or?
It was part of the original one.
Oh, it was? Okay.
Yeah.
So then, all right, so Council already made direction on that. Yes, Councillor Piran?
Yeah, Your Worship, I had another issue just to bring forward. With the opening of the hospital in St. Catharines, I know there's a lot of talk and we're never going to agree on which services are there, but I think we should celebrate the fact that there is a cancer center there, and really it's a change in healthcare in Niagara. For anyone that's had someone in their family that's been ill by cancer, they know, I guess, what it's like traveling to Juravinsky, Hamilton, or even further, pretty much on a daily basis, to either go see their loved ones or to receive treatment. I mean, the cancer center that we have here in St. Catharines is an absolute blessing for the entire Niagara area. I would think it would be appropriate, Your Worship, to thank the province. Sometimes government doesn't get thanked enough. And as well, Your Worship, to thank the Walker Brothers Corporation. I believe that the gift that they gave to the Cancer Center was $5 million, and they're an outstanding corporate citizen. They've contributed to many projects, albeit most of them are in St. Catharines, but that's where they're based and that's where they're from. So, I mean, I would make a motion, Your Worship, that we as a city go out and thank the province and Walker Brothers for putting the cancer center there in St. Catharines.
Okay, got a motion by Councillor Pietrangelo, second by Councillor Morocco, that we acknowledge and thank Walker Brothers and the province for bringing and building the Walker Family Cancer Center in St. Catharines at the new hospital. Okay, so we'll call that motion. All those in favor? Okay, and that's easily unanimous. Good idea, Councillor. Councillor Morocco?
Yes, I'm sorry. One more thing. I just want to send out a thank you to the radio stations. Last week there was a horrific accident on the QEW that shut down access in both directions, Niagara and Toronto, and it was backed up for miles. I was en route to Hamilton the next day, actually, and it was still shut down. And it was nice to know that the radio stations were trying to keep people abreast as to what other routes. And I have to say, it's quite devastating to see that you're stuck there. You're trying to go, and most people don't know that there's these other routes off the highway to have access. So I just want to say that I know a number of the radio stations, like 105.7, that were keeping us abreast of how to maneuver on that highway. So good.
Thank you for that. Councillor Thompson?
I was going to move for adjournment.
Go ahead, Councillor.
I just want to congratulate Andy Petrowski on
Yes.
the job.
Yes, he did. I'm just directing traffic for 3 hours.